A mother's desperate midnight plea has just trapped two royal sisters in the ultimate psychological nightmare. Somewhere deep in the Austrian Alps, a secret meeting took place that could permanently fracture what's left of the monarchy. And the impossible choice handed to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie carries a price tag that could cost them their own titles. You'll want to stay tuned until the very end of this video, because the hidden connection between a multi-million-pound ultimatum and the palace's absolute darkest secret changes everything we thought we knew about survival behind palace gates. If you love diving deep into the untold stories behind the headlines, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button and join our community. We have some incredible breakdowns coming your way that you absolutely won't want to miss. To the outside world, a luxury ski resort in Salzburg looks like paradise, but for Sarah Ferguson, it has allegedly become an elite golden cage. The former Duchess of York vanished from the United Kingdom earlier this year, completely dropping off the radar. On the surface, it appeared to be a peaceful alpine escape. In reality, reports suggest she was running out of places to hide. The sheer scale of the crisis unfolding in the mountains is staggering. Insiders say the costs of maintaining this high-end sanctuary are rapidly draining what little remains of her personal wealth. Her credit cards are reportedly pushing their absolute limits, and the financial safety net she relied on for decades has vanished. She is facing a silent crisis, stranded in exile with a mountain of debt. But the true panic isn't just about the bills. It is claimed that her former husband has been completely cut off from his usual funding by the king, leaving both of them entirely exposed. For years, they managed to weather the heaviest storms together. Now, with the palace doors firmly shut and the funding dried up, she has been backed into a corner. That is exactly when a desperate plan was set into motion. Rumors indicate that a secret message was sent from the mountains, summoning her two daughters for an urgent emotional meeting. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie had no idea what they were walking into when they arrived in Austria. What their mother was about to ask of them would completely shatter their world, leaving the two sisters trapped in a situation with no good way out. The moment Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie stepped into that ultra-exclusive Salzburg resort, they weren't just visiting their mother, they were walking straight into a high-stakes emotional trap. The sisters had just finished attending a glamorous society wedding in Vienna, surrounded by the elite of Europe, before making the quiet, highly secretive journey deep into the Austrian mountains. They expected a standard family reunion, perhaps a brief escape from the intense public scrutiny back home. Instead, they were met with a scene of absolute desperation that left them completely stunned. Sarah Ferguson, the 66-year-old Jouncy, reportedly broke down almost immediately, laying bare the full gravity of a crisis she had been hiding for months. According to sources, she confessed that her financial life was in a state of total collapse. The numbers she presented were staggering. The staggering cost of her extended stay at the luxury Austrian ski resort was rapidly draining what little remained of her personal wealth, pushing her credit cards to their absolute maximum limits. She openly admitted to her daughters that she was living out a total nightmare, trapped in a golden cage she could no longer afford. But the most jarring part of her plea wasn't just the missing millions or the mounting bills. It is claimed she looked directly at Beatrice and Eugenie and told them that they are quite literally the only people left on the planet who can save her. With King Charles remaining completely immovable and refusing to offer any extra financial support to their father Andrew, the safety net that had protected the York family for decades had officially evaporated. The burden had fallen squarely on the sisters' shoulders, forcing them to choose between their own financial stability and saving their mother from public ruin. This left both princesses facing an agonizing dilemma that they were entirely unprepared to handle. They love their mother deeply, but the price of rescuing her comes with immense personal and professional risk. As the sisters sat there in the quiet of the alpine resort, trying to process this impossible request, a cold reality began to set in. They realized this situation was about to get much worse, because back in London, their own husbands, Edoardo Mapelli-Mozzi and Jack Brooksbank, were about to draw a definitive line in the sand that would fracture the family even further. For Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, The crisis unfolding in the Austrian Alps quickly transformed into a high-stakes domestic standoff back home in London. It is claimed that their husbands, the wealthy property tycoon Edoardo Mapelli-Mozzi and businessman Jack Brooksbank, completely refused to let their households get dragged into the financial chaos. Both men reportedly drew a strict, uncompromising line in the sand. They made it explicitly clear that they were uncomfortable financing the mounting debts or shielding the deep public controversies surrounding Sarah Ferguson and Andrew. This put the royal sisters in an agonizing psychological position, utterly torn between maternal loyalty and the direct demands of their own husbands. Edoardo and Jack are highly focused on protecting their private business ventures, high society reputations, and young families from any toxic public blowback. Insiders say the husbands view the former Duchess of York situation as a bottomless financial pit that could easily swallow their personal assets and credibility whole. But the heavy resistance from Edoardo and Jack was only half the problem. The two princesses are facing a much larger, far more terrifying threat if they decide to rescue their mother. Reports suggest both Beatrice, aged 37, and Eugenie, aged 36, are in a state of absolute panic about their official standing within the royal institution. They know that any public alignment with the severe backlash surrounding the York name could cost them everything they have built. Sources close to the palace describe the entire ordeal as a classic, heartbreaking lose-lose scenario for the sisters. If they turn their backs on their mother, the family dynamic fractures forever, leaving her stranded in financial exile. But if they step in to clear her luxury resort bills, they risk deeply angering the senior royals at the palace and putting their own royal status, patronages, and futures directly on the line. And just as the sisters felt completely trapped by this impossible choice, a brand new threat emerged from the palace walls, one that proved the family's critics were ready to strike them down completely. Inside the palace walls, the gloves have completely come off, and Sarah Ferguson is now being branded with the most brutal labels imaginable. Insiders say that critics within the royal circle are openly calling her the ultimate institutional survivor, while harsher voices see her as a permanent financial burden on the monarchy. The patience of the royal family has officially expired, and a major internal war is breaking out over what to do with her. This isn't just standard palace gossip, it is a calculated effort to push her out for good. Reports suggest that a deep generational divide has formed over how to handle the crisis. On one side stands King Charles, who is often portrayed as sentimental and deeply protective of family members facing severe difficulties. He wants to avoid a public mess, but his hands are tied by a changing institution. On the other side of the palace, a powerful faction is pushing for a total cutoff. Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Princess Catherine are allegedly united in their mission to protect the monarchy's modern reputation. They believe that keeping controversial figures at a strict arm's length is the only way for the institution to survive. They are highly focused on the future, and they see the constant drama surrounding the York family as a massive step backward. The pressure on King Charles to completely freeze out his sister-in-law is reaching a boiling point. Critics argue that any financial bailout using institutional funds would trigger a massive public backlash. But Sarah Ferguson is not the type to sit quietly and accept defeat. As she finds herself entirely cornered by the palace elite, rumors indicate she is preparing a multi-million-pound retaliation that has the entire royal family absolutely terrified. A cornered survivor who knows where all the palace bodies are buried is the most dangerous person alive, and Sarah Ferguson reportedly holds the ultimate bargaining chip. Rumors indicate that she is quietly eyeing a staggering £2 million tell-all book deal. With her back flat against the wall, this isn't just about financial survival anymore. It is a move that could send massive shockwaves straight through the core of the monarchy. The true panic within the palace isn't just about a book. It's about what she might choose to reveal. It is claimed that Ferguson has been approached with massive offers to participate in explosive television interviews, potentially addressing the deeply sensitive past of Prince Andrew. For years, she has fiercely defended her former husband. Now, critics accuse her of using that very loyalty as leverage. The strategy behind this is incredibly calculating. Royal biographer Andrew Lowney recently weighed in, suggesting that Ferguson might be using the threat of a public tell-all to negotiate a private settlement. The theory is simple, but brilliant. Reports suggest she could be aiming to secure a permanent royal pension from King Charles in exchange for her absolute silence. If true, it places the king in an impossible position. Paying her off to keep quiet would be deeply unpopular with the public, but letting her speak could undo years of hard work to stabilize the family's reputation. The palace is locked in a high-stakes waiting game, desperate to see who blinks first. But as the clock ticks down, the final piece of this puzzle is about to fall into place, and it will change the future of the York family forever. The ultimate survival game of the York family has officially entered its final, most dangerous phase, and the damage may already be irreversible. Biographer Andrew Lowney describes the current dynamic between the palace and the sisters, Beatrice and Eugenie, as deeply fractured and inconsistent. No one inside the institution seems to know where they stand anymore. The lines of trust have been completely erased. The fallout from this alpine crisis is threatening to rewrite the future of the entire monarchy. Insiders say that younger royals are growing deeply concerned that these endless controversies are dragging the family backward. At a time when King Charles is actively trying to modernize the institution, the shadows of the past continue to loom incredibly large. Every single move made by Sarah Ferguson from this point forward is a massive gamble. Reports suggest she is running out of time to secure her future, and the palace's silence is becoming deafening. Will the king ultimately step in with a private settlement to preserve the peace, or will the institution allow the chips to fall where they may? The stakes have never been higher for Beatrice and Eugenie, who find themselves caught in the middle of a historic crossfire. The entire world is now watching to see if old scandals will finally fade away, or if a single desperate move will trigger a total collapse. What do you think will happen next? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the next video on your screen to uncover even more secrets behind the palace walls.